guys, welcome back. This is Mike from 60CLICKS. Today we're going to be looking at the Mark II Hawkinge pilot watch. Now, this is my first video in a while. I apologize for that, but I've actually been super busy working on a really cool project that I want to show you real quick before we get into the review. So this new app I just launched last week is called Watch Patrol, and if you're into buying and selling watches with other enthusiasts, you should really check it out. What it does is essentially scrape sales listings from the various watch communities like Watch You Seek, Rolex Forums, Time Zone, and puts them all together so you can filter, browse, search through them easily, look at images. I spent a lot of time working on this, so I hope you'll check it out. It's at watchpatrol.net. Okay, enough of that. Let's get to the review. So for those of you who don't know about Mark II, let me just do a quick introduction. Mark II is a one-man American watchmaker named Bill Yao who uses various collaborators in Japan and Switzerland to assemble his military homage-inspired watches. Bill's been doing this for over a decade, and he's released over a dozen models during that time. For a lot of people, the word homage is a big turnoff, and I totally understand that. Some people equate them with counterfeits or knockoffs, and there are definitely some bad homages out there. But Mark II is a lot different than most homage brands. And first of all, Bill is really a student of watch history, and he brings back to life some incredibly interesting and important pieces, many of which are completely unobtainable. Either they're extremely rare or extremely pricey, 50 to 100K. So another aspect of this is the actual build quality, which Bill takes very seriously. He uses high quality Swiss movements, or in the case of the Hawkinge, Japanese, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And he does almost all of his own QC in his Pennsylvania workshop to make sure the fit and finish is perfect. So if you don't believe me, stop on over to the Mark II forum at Watch You Seek and see how some of his followers are willing to wait over 4 years for a watch to be delivered. He's amassed quite a cult following. Okay, anyway, on to the watch. So the Hawkinge is actually sort of a dual homage in a way. It's an homage to Mark II's very first watch, the Quad 10, which was very similar in design, just a tad bit larger and with Swiss innards. And that watch was an homage to the quintessential Mark 11 pilot watch, which was made for the British Royal Air Force. That watch was a military spec watch, and it was produced by both JLC and IWC. And vintage examples of that particular piece go for around 8K on the secondary market. There are two versions of this watch, date and no date, which are identical barring the date window, and the latter being a more faithful representation of the original. So taking a bit of a closer look at the design, the dial is essential pilot watch, stark black and white, clean Arabic numerals around the dial, and of course the white triangle at 12 o'clock so you always know which way is up. The original vintage version had a circle T on the dial to indicate the presence of radioactive tritium for the lume. And Bill plays off this with his circle Y, which stands for Yao. This is sort of a humorous, nice little touch. The hands are just perfectly executed. They're the only reflective component of the watch, and I really love the squared off short hour hand here. So let's take a look at this watch in the dark really quick. It uses BGW9 lume, which is a nice blue color. And the four markers at 12, 3, 6, and 9 are illuminated. Obviously on the no date version, the 3 o'clock is a little bit larger. It would have been nice to see the numerals illuminated as well, but I understand that would probably increase the cost of the watch. And the way that it's illuminated now makes it actually very legible in the dark. The brushed steel case is 38.5 millimeters, 48.5 millimeters lug to lug, and almost 13 millimeters thick. So it's got a nice presence with the thickness. There's also a very slight dome on the crystal, which is a great touch. It gives it a bit of extra height, not too much. Some people might think this watch is too small, but I really love the proportions, and I actually think it's a perfect watch for a smaller wrist. It comes with a nice thick tan leather strap, but it also looks incredible on just about any color NATO as well. The crown is nice and large, and there are no crown guards, as you can see. And the reason for this is that aviators needed a way to set the time on their watches while wearing gloves. Early aircrafts lacked environmental controls and were often very cold, so I'm glad this detail was preserved. and the 6R15 inside has hand winding capabilities, so it's fun to wind up too. So I should touch on that real quick. This watch is actually part of Bill's ready-to-wear collection. Let me explain. Most of Bill's other watches are all made to order, so they can take quite a long time to be assembled and delivered. And this watch is designed by Bill and assembled in Japan. And this allows Bill to quickly fulfill orders and also offers watches up at a slightly lower price point. So instead of the Swiss movements inside, we've got the Seiko 6R15, which is very nice. It's a Japanese automatic movement that is used in a lot of Seiko's own watches, like the 3rd Gen Monsters, the Alpinist, watches in the Sarb line, Cocktail Time, things like that. So it's got hacking and hand winding, and it's adjusted in time by Bill, so these things actually keep quite excellent time. So to wrap things up, I think Bill's first excursion in ready-made watches is actually a great success. This is a very accessible piece. The build quality doesn't seem to have suffered by outsourcing the assembly to Japan, and the design is just a perfect, no-nonsense military-styled piece you could wear every day. If you don't want to spend $8K on a vintage Royal Air Force pilot watch, this is a very affordable alternative at $595. So, thanks for tuning in. If you like this review, go ahead and hit subscribe. Otherwise, hit on over to my website for more pictures and a full review of the Hawkinge at 60clicks.com.